Welcome to Managing the College Recruiting Podcast, the show where real coaches guide you through every step of the college athletic recruiting journey. I'm your host, Jeff Four, founder of Next College Athlete. Each week, we break down the recruiting process with practical tips, expert insights, and real-world stories. So if you and your family can take control, avoiding costly mistakes, and make confident decisions about your future. If you're ready to get recruited on your terms with honest advice, you're in the right place. So let's get started with today's episode. So hello and welcome back to Next College Athlete Podcast. I'm Jeff Four, current athletic director at Missouri Baptist University and the founder and director of Next College Athlete. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that every student athlete and parent really needs to understand, especially with where we are today and how it has become such a big influence in our lives, and that is how to use social media and your online presence in college recruiting. So, you know, for a lot of athletes, social media is either a huge missed opportunity or a major red flag. You know, college coaches are continually looking you up. They're continually using social media to really dig into and see what is there from a recruit perspective. And I tell you, as a former college coach, I'll be honest with you, there are individuals that I've recruited before that have done some inappropriate things on social media or have been involved in some inappropriate actions, inappropriate pictures that I pulled scholarships before. So, you know, social media can be a really good thing, especially in the recruiting front, but it also can work on the negative side. So, you know, college coaches, you know, are continuing to pay attention to what you post, what you like, how you interact with other people online. So social media can play a huge impact on this recruiting process. So, you know, in this episode, we're really going to be breaking this down. You know, how coaches actually use social media in recruiting. What does a recruit-ready profile actually look like from a social media perspective? What to post, what to avoid, and how to clean things up. And then that's going to be really important, especially if you've got some things on there that are not what you would definitely want. And then we're going to talk about how to use social media to build relationships with coaches right away. So we've got a really packed show for you tonight. This is going to be a really exciting topic, and it's something that is really at the heart of recruiting, has become a bigger play than it used to be. So first of all, you know, how do coaches use social media? So first, let's talk about actually how coaches are using the different types of social media in the recruiting process. So most coaches today, when they start to identify recruits, are going to look recruits up on Instagram, on Twitter, X, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook. I know Facebook doesn't have the same play that it had many years ago, but it's still a platform that is used, and it's one that coaches are going to continue to scour. You know, they're going to check posts, they're going to look at comments, they're going to look at likes, they're going to look at tag photos. You know, they're really using social media to confirm what they're seeing in your emails and your film and your conversations. It's really going to give them a snapshot of really who you are and what you are as a potential recruit and somebody that is going to be in their system. You know, they're asking, is this someone, again, as I just indicated, that I want in my locker room, somebody that is going to be a positive influence in our program, and someone I can trust to represent our program or school. You know, as an athletic director, we talk all the time to our athletes about being the front porch of a university, and student athletes are the front porch. I mean, when you think about how they interact outside of the college campus, traveling all over the country, how they represent themselves, how the teams represent themselves is a huge play in college, in colleges today, and especially in college recruiting. So that becomes a big piece. And then, does the athlete show maturity and discipline and good judgment? You know, what kind of situations are you putting yourself in front of? And, you know, that's going to tell a lot about about who you are. So I've seen athletes move up on a coach's list because of the positive professional line presence. And I've also seen athletes drop completely out because of some careless posts. And, for somebody who, again, has recruited at the college level, I can tell you that we are always looking for reasons to mark kids off our list. And social media is probably the number one thing that will get you taken off of the list of a college program simply because how you're acting or what you're doing, particularly on social media. So, your social media is part of your recruiting resume, whether you like it or not. That's just the fact. That's just what it is. And so you really need to understand that. So now let's really talk about, your digital footprint and really auditing your footprint, what it really should look like. So before we talk about what to post, again, we need to talk about auditing or really how to clean up what's already out there. So recommendations I make to really every athlete is to do a digital footprint audit. Search your name on Google, Instagram, on X or Twitter, on TikTok, and really on any other platform that you use, and really look at posts or, comments, likes, or tagged photos, and ask yourself, would I be okay with a college coach, my parents or future teammates seeing this? And I think that's a great question to ask yourself. And that's really going to help you reflect on really whether you should have something on your social media or not. And then does this reflect the person or the athlete that you're really trying to become? And those are two key questions that you need to be asking yourself as you kind of do this social media audit. Now, things to delete or really untag: any profanity, offensive language, inappropriate jokes, anything related to alcohol, drugs, anything that looks like partying is definitely going to be negative. Any negative comments about coaches, teammates, refs, opponents, really a big thing. Anything that looks like is going to create drama, arguments, any bullying that would be taking place, comments that you would say about somebody is really going to play into this, and really anything that can be taken out of context in a bad way. So, those are the things, again, as you kind of do this audit that you need to be looking at. And again, asking yourself, would I be okay with a college coach, my parents or future teammates seeing any of this stuff? And if you can answer like no, then you definitely need to get off your profile. Now, parents, this is a great thing for you to do, not to embarrass your son or daughter as a up and coming college athlete, but it's really to protect their future, and especially financially, because we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars when we talk about scholarships, and putting yourself in a position to get that taken away from you can be a huge impact, a huge piece. So if you won't want it on a recruiting brochure, then it shouldn't be on your profile. That's a great thing to really think about, and a good thing to kind of remember. So now let's talk about what coaches like to see. So we talked about doing an audit and what coaches don't want to see. Well, what do coaches want to see? Well, they want to see a recruit-ready profile. And in a recruit-ready profile, we're looking at clean, no inappropriate content, a profile that's consistent, same name, grad year, sports across platforms, very informative, easy for a coach to quickly see who you are, what's going on. Those are really important things. And then on the main profile, especially on Instagram or X, Twitter, you want to include, again, name, graduation year, sport, position, high school, put your club team on there, GPA or any academic highlights that you might be proud of, and then a link to your highlight video or recruiting profile. I think that's really important if they want to see more information, because, social media is limited on the amount of information that you can put in one post. And so a link to that recruiting profile where a coach could go and see a lot of additional information, that's really, really important. So kind of as an example, that, you might put, a 2026 grad, point guard, 5'11", Lincoln High School, 3.7 GPA, and then highlight and then you put the link in. So that's really quick, really simple, gives a lot of basic information, and then directs coach directly to your highlight reel. Now, your post should reflect your work ethic, training, practice, game clips, your team first mentality, celebrating teammates, celebrating wins, growth is a great way, as you kind of build your profile out, things that will reflect your character, community service activities, leadership activities, family, faith. Those are great pieces to have in your post. You don't have to be perfect or robotic. You just need to be really intentional in what you put, on your profile. Now, a lot of athletes ask, well, what should I actually post? So, kind of once we built that initial profile, we have some basic information. The next question is what do I really post? What do I put on my social media? So, some really good ideas that I recommend are, training clips, short little videos of workouts or skill development, lifting, conditioning. I think those are always great things to put in there. Game highlights, big plays, also, hustle plays, great defensive plays, any leadership moments or opportunities that have presented themselves along the way, I think are always great to put on social media. Any team content is great. Celebrating the wins with your teammates, supporting your teammates, behind the scenes, in a respectful way. So I think that's always good from a team content standpoint. And then academic wins. Honor roll awards, anything you get test scores, anything you're really proud of academically is really good to make sure and put on your profile. And then finally, these character moments, volunteering, mentoring, if you do any camps, mentoring, working with young athletes, community service work at your church. Those are all great things to really put on a profile. I think the next thing is that I get asked all the time, how often do I want to continue to put this stuff on my profile? And I think anytime you have that's something that's really good that you want to share about yourself, that's dynamic, exciting, is great. I don't think you have to post every day. I think if you're putting 2 to 3 quality posts out there a week and then throwing in some regular stories, I think it's plenty. We don't need to go overboard. You have to understand that coaches are not going to be able to check all of this stuff out. They're recruiting, in a sense, hundreds and hundreds of athletes. And so, their ability to go in and look at your profile every day gets kind of daunting. It's just, to be honest with you, it's really not going to happen. And again, the goal is really consistency and message, not necessarily volume. So again, those are kind of some great tips. If I have to give you one, like I would call pro tip, tag your high school or club team, and occasionally tag the program you're interested in. I think that's always a great way because then that kind of pushes it out. When it's appropriate, we don't want to spam coaches, but you do want to see, or you do want to let them see that you're active and you're really serious about their program. So tagging them or pushing it out to their program, I think is always great to do. Now, let's be clear about what to avoid. So trash talk, opponents, ref, coaches, teammates, big time no. Complaining about playing time or coaching decisions, again, inappropriate jokes or anything that is outside the lines, anything that looks like partying, drugs, alcohol, public arguments, anything that is drama. We definitely want to avoid that. Even if you don't mean it in that way, really, coaches don't have time to interpret. And so they're going to really move on to the next recruit. So I think that's really important for you to remember. And again, really the rule of thumb here is if you have to ask, is that okay to post? It's probably not going to be something that you're going to want to put on social media. So again, that's just really a good way to reference as you're kind of thinking about, would I want a college coach to see this? Would it be okay for me to post it? If you've got to ask yourself that question, it's probably something that you wouldn't want to see out there. So, as we've talked about, social media can be an incredibly powerful tool to build relationships with coaches when it's done correctly. And here's how. So following the program and the staff accounts for your school on your target list can be really great and really powerful. So, as you start to build that target list that we've talked about before, and if you haven't listened to our episode on building a target list, I definitely recommend that you get back and watch that or listen to it, because we got some great information on how to build that. But I think once you built it, following the programs and staff accounts within those programs, I think is really, really great. To like or occasionally comment on the post in a respectful, genuine way, I think is a great way to share your interest in a program. And when appropriate, it's okay to DM a coach, with a short professional message, introducing yourself, sharing your grad year, your position, your school, maybe, including a link to your highlight video or to your profile. I think that's always great. Just really, and even in a sense, let them know that you've emailed them. I think those are great ways to directly communicate with coaches, and especially for our Division I athletes that, there are limited times in your recruiting process of when they could reach out to you. I think it's a great way to get a message and to get information in front of a coach and potentially connect with them at an earlier time frame. So I think that's always great. I'm always asked, well, what would an example like direct message to a coach sound like? So kind of here's one that just I put together kind of real quick. I think it's great. It's really simple. It's easy. But hi, Coach Smith. My name's Alex Johnson, 2026 grad from Central High School. I really like the way your team plays and your focus on defense. I sent you an email with my highlight video and profile. Just wanted to introduce myself here as well. Thank you for your time. Again, really simple, really quick, grad year, position, tells them that you emailed them, includes a link to your profile, your video. I think that's a great way to use direct message to coach. It's not out of bounds. It's not going to get a coach it's not going to be overbearing. And I think that's a thing that you want to remember. So, social media should support your emails and calls, not replace them. And I think that's an important thing to remember as somebody that's being recruited. Now, parents, what role do you play here? And it's big. I think parents always play a big role in this. I mean, while at the end of the day, most of us are saying that we're going to allow our sons and daughters to make the decision that we think is important for them, we do play a big role in this. So, I think helping your athletes set boundaries and expectations for social media, I think is really important. It's something you really need to think about and something you need to be a part of. Periodically checking profiles together, I think is really great. Not as a gotcha, but really as a safeguard, making sure that the right information is out there, especially, knowing that your son or daughter is going to be recruited, is being recruited. And we definitely want them to maximize their scholarship opportunities. We don't want to put anything out there that would be negative in nature, and I think, again, parents can help avoid posting negative comments about coaches' teams in playing time. I think that's important. And then remember, coaches, will sometimes see your post too. So, if you're connected to your son or daughter, those posts tend to get over. And I can tell you, we recruit the parents almost sometimes just as much as we recruit the student athletes. So, I think it's important that we understand where our student athletes are coming from. And I think as a parent, you do have a responsibility to act in a correct way. And so I think you're complaining about calls and teams and coaches can play a role and can be a negative impact on this whole thing. So let's kind of start to wrap this up with some concrete action steps as we kind of move forward. And so this week, I'm going to challenge you to do the following. Go in and do an audit of your social media. Delete or untag anything that really doesn't align with who you are or who you want to be. I think that's really important. And then updating your bio, cleaning that up, making sure that your grad year's on there, making sure your position is on there, your school, any highlight links, any profile links. I think a great way to make sure that you're effectively using your social media is always great. Post one or two recruit-ready pieces of content. Again, let's put some training clips in there. Let's put some academic awards in there, some things about character, community service, something we've done along those lines. And I think if we can get one or two posts out there, I think that's going to be a really good start. And then go ahead and follow 3 to 5 programs. So, look at your target list, look at your top schools. Let's follow 3 to 5 programs from that list and start really paying attention to their content. The other thing you can do is if you've had an opportunity to sign up for our course, I think it's a great way to not only learn more about the recruiting process, but we've got some great social media stuff in there. Our social media and online presence checklist is great. Again, you can pick that up at nextcollegeathlete.com. You just go ahead and look at our course, the 9-module course that literally we have built. It's built from my experience as a college recruiter and somebody who worked at NCSA. We've put really all the information you need in one place. And that 9-module course has a lot of downloadable resources, a lot of templates, a lot of really good information. And the social media online presence checklist is something that is really powerful and really going to be beneficial to help you really keep and stay on track. So, to kind of close this out, let's do some listener Q&A. Again, I encourage you, if you have questions, go ahead and email us at info@nextcollegeathlete.com. We get these all the time, and we try to throw some up here on the podcast every week. And hopefully it's a question that's of interest to you, but let's look at a couple tonight. So one I've got here is, should my account be private or public? Great question. So if you're serious about recruiting, I recommend having at least one public recruit-ready account that coaches can view very easily. I think that's going to be important. You can keep a separate private account if you want to, but remember, screenshots are live forever. So I think that's important. So, having one public recruit ready profile, I think is really, really good, for you to have. Another question we've got, is it okay to tag coaches in my posts? I'd say occasionally it is. Yeah. Especially after, you've already been in contact with this coach, the coach is familiar with you, don't tag them in every post or spam them, use it sparingly and respectfully. But I think it's absolutely okay in some situations to go ahead and tag a coach. Let's do one more. So, if I post something dumb a year ago, what should I do? Delete it. Delete it now. Learn from it. Move forward. If it ever comes up again, own it. Show how you've grown and move on, but definitely go ahead and delete it. I would definitely recommend to do that. So kind of to finish up here, a quick story. So I work with an athlete whose social media, needless to say, was an absolute mess. I mean, arguments, jokes that crossed the line, some questionable photos. And really, we spent the weekend really cleaning it up, reframing his profile, posting better content to bury some of the things that we didn't want, down. And within a few months, coaches were connecting on how professional and mature that he seemed online. And it really made a difference. So, again, you don't have to be perfect. We know that, sometimes as a young age, we make mistakes, we do things. It's okay to own it. But it's also it's really important that you show maturity. It's really important that you start to grow. And again, if we're posting those 2 to 3 times a week, coaches are going to start to recognize the professionalism, the maturity that they see in social media. And that's definitely going to help you. So, again, really appreciate. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Again, social media is such a big impact, but we're glad you were here. Part of the Next College Athlete podcast. Your social media and online presence can either be a liability or can be a huge asset in the recruiting process. When you're really intentional, when you're consistent and professional, you can make it really easy for coaches to say yes. And this is someone that really we want in our program. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about communicating with college coaches, specifically emails, DMs, phone calls, and really how to follow up without being a pest. And that's going to be really important. Again, I'm Jeff Four, current athletic director at Missouri Baptist University, founder at Next College Athlete. And if you found this helpful, make sure you share it with a teammate, a parent, or a coach who's walking you through the process. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and send us your questions for future Q&A segments. And again, definitely run over to nextcollegeathlete.com. Check it out. We've got an entire recruit management system, although they're $10 a month, no contract, quit anytime. Literally will help you manage your entire recruiting process. And so we want to make sure that every student athlete out there that wants to play in college has an opportunity and has the best tools available to them. And you'll find those over at Next College Athlete, including the course that I talked about earlier. So until next Wednesday, everybody have a great week. And we are excited to help you become the next college athlete. Everybody have a good evening.